Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome into episode number 2 of our WWF Invasion 2001 save in TEW9. This is SmackDown for May 1st, 2001, our first official show here in the series, and I get more and more excited about this as I continue to add some of the longer-term stories into kind of the booking plans and all that. And as I mentioned previously, I do have everything pretty much planned out until WrestleMania of next year, WrestleMania 18, in terms of the big plot points and the stories and all that. So I'm sure there will be injuries that will throw that off. There will be people who probably get fired. There will be backstage things that throw everything off. But at least we have a plan here for this particular save. And again, I think a lot of exciting moments on the way in this one. But let's jump into it. And as I told you guys also in the previous episode, I am still adjusting to the new angles and all that. You're going to see some pretty basic stuff here in terms of, I'm not going to have like the multi-part things and all that just yet because I'm still working on kind of how to be a little bit more efficient in adding those parts and everything. But I did also say, I did not start playing TEW9 as soon as it came out. So I'm still probably newer to this than most people are. But we're at least going to just kind of, continue to expand the angle system as we go along here. But for now, we're going to keep it pretty simple. And you guys know how I've done my previous saves. I pretty much just tell you the details anyway, so it's not like you really have to see it here for itself. And we start the show off with a video package looking at highlights from Austin and Triple H winning the Tag Team Championships from The Undertaker and Kane at Backlash. We are kind of pushing this as though this is your first show after Backlash, even though we know there would have been a Raw technically afterwards. But we are kind of pushing this as though this is sort of the fallout from Backlash. So, and like I said too, keep in mind, not everything we bring up will necessarily apply to what happened at Backlash. We will just sort of take pieces of that and continue storylines with some of the things that happened at Backlash, but it will certainly not be everything, as you'll see. So, this is just kind of a video package hyping up the fact that we do have new tag team champions. One little thing that irks me, I will tell you guys. I don't like that you can't just sort of put people together, and maybe that's just me. The way you have, and I know I can tell, like it's going by alphabetical order here, but I wish you could just sort of put them in the order. So we could have Triple H and Austin beside each other. We could have Taker and Kane beside each other. But I know that's very nitpicky type stuff. But nonetheless, 75 for the segment, and I think we're going to see how these angle ratings go. May not be the best, but we're going to give it a shot. All right. So as the video package is playing, all of a sudden we get to the end of the video package, and just as we're seeing Triple H and Austin holding the belts up here, we hear the voice of Kurt Angle. So he is, as this package is going, we hear Kurt Angle's voice, and it's because Kurt Angle is in the production truck, and he is with William Regal, who is technically our acting commissioner. As you're going to see, we'll see how long that stays the case here, but Kurt Angle is in the production truck with William Regal, and he wants Regal and the production team to destroy the video from Backlash. And that, of course, is because Kurt Angle lost at Backlash to Chris Benoit, and so Angle wants the video destroyed of him tapping out at Backlash. That is the story we are moving forward with here. 68 for the segment, and so Angle is pleading with Regal and telling them to destroy any video of Backlash. He doesn't care if, it's shown with Austin and Triple H winning, but he wants no one to see anything of the video of what happened to him at Backlash. So Angle just continuing to plead here, and Regal's just saying that he'll try to take care of that. So Kurt Angle not in a good mood here to start things off. But Regal does tell Kurt Angle that, Kurt, I've got bigger matters to tend to, including seeing this match to start off SmackDown, which is going to be Regal's nemesis here, Chris Jericho, who Regal just beat in the Duchess of Queensberry match at Backlash. Regal wants to watch him take on X-Pac. I always love the way Regal said X-Pac. He always said X-Pac. So, William Regal wants to watch this opening match. 68 for this one. Angle's pissed off. He wants this video destroyed. But we're not going to destroy a video of this match. Gets a 77, so really good stuff here as Chris Jericho does get the win over X-Pac, or X-Pac, as William Regal would say, and what I think is a really good match, and you can tell we had the great chemistry between these two, so that really helped a lot here, and again, Jericho's coming off that loss to Regal via shenanigans in the Duchess of Queensberry match at Backlash 2001. X-Pac firmly still with X Factor, with just Incredible and Albert. But it's Jericho getting the win here over X-Pac to, kind of give Jericho a little bit of momentum back moving forward. It will not be, again, we're going to have both of these guys are going to be involved in some pretty good stuff, I think, coming up here on the road to Judgment Day. But 77, we'll take that without question. My guess is it won't be the best match. It'll be the second best match on the show, but we'll take it. All right, now we get to Michael Cole, a fresh-looking Michael Cole here in the 79 segment, and he looks lost because, well, he's no match for The Undertaker here, as it is Michael Cole catching up with The Undertaker, who has arrived at the arena here in Baltimore, as it is Cole asking Taker what his thoughts are coming out of that match at Backlash where they did lose the tag team championships, and Taker, in a not-so-happy mood, tells Cole that he has not seen his brother Kane since Backlash, and he's here to kick some ass. So The Undertaker has not seen Kane. We don't know what's happened to Kane. He was taken out at Backlash, and yet Taker's here to perhaps vow some revenge on the two-man power trip of Triple H and Steve Austin and the people around them, Vince McMahon, Stephanie McMahon, Helmsley as well. So The Undertaker's here with something to prove, and it gets a 79 for this segment. So as that happens, we see the group of Vince McMahon, Triple H, Steve Austin, and then it's Kurt Angle who walks in. We see these guys watching the video of The Undertaker in this interview he just did with Michael Cole. So it gets an 86. We certainly will take that, without question. Kurt Angle storms into the room. So we've seen Angle already storming into the production truck, trying to get them to destroy the video. Now Angle is pleading with Vince to get this video destroyed from Backlash. And Vince is just telling Kurt, I'll see what I can do. Basically saying the same thing about, what Regal said. And Angle then says, I want a match tonight. I don't want anybody talking about Backlash. I don't want anybody telling me that I suck. Angle says, I've got something to prove, and I want you to give me a match tonight. I don't care who it is. Give them to me. So Kurt Angle is fired up. You see Triple H and Austin just kind of giving him the stare here. And then you see Vince turn to Triple H and Austin sort of nods his head at Vince McMahon. And keep in mind what they were just doing, right? So Vince looks at the screen. He sees kind of, again, the fallout of The Undertaker walking off after the interview with Michael Cole. And that is when Vince says, Kurt, you've got your match. And all three walk out, Vince, Triple H, and Austin. And Angle's like, who with who? Who do I have a match with? And Angle's looking back and forth, and he looks at the screen, and he sees The Undertaker walking. And Kurt Angle realizes what he's gotten himself into here. So it is going to be our main event, The Undertaker versus Kurt Angle, here on SmackDown. And Vince, Triple H, and Austin, seemingly have found someone to battle The Undertaker for tonight. 86 for the segment. All right, now we get to a little bit of a simmering down portion, as we do get kind of a good note here on the match doing its job, giving the crowd a breather, coming off of some high-intensity stuff here to start things off. 59 for this one, as is Trish Stratus defeating Ivory. 445, the corner run Bulldog does it. With the product we have in the save, you have to have an eye candy match for every single show. So we are going to have a women's match on every show, which, again, look, it's not the depth of the women's division, these days, but we've still got some people to work with. But we're going to need to, I'm telling you, get the roster a little bit more, add some talent to the roster. I'll say that, because there are not a lot of options to work with on the roster right now. I think we've got, 6 or 7, maybe? So we'll see what we can do in terms of adding some people, but again, some of that will change based on maybe the structure of the save at some point in the future anyway. So, all right, 59 for this one. Trish gets the win over Ivory. Not a lot more to note on that. Of course, Ivory was still in her right to censor days here. We are still using the RTC, as you'll see. All right, now we get a video package here as we look at the highlights from the Last Man Standing match at Backlash 2001, where it was Shane McMahon who defeated the Big Show. And, of course, if you remember, in reality, it was Shane taking the huge fall off the top. But Test got involved in that match, and it was Shane able to beat the Big Show. That's when Shane, I think in the lead-up to that, was doing the, he was reading the thing. I can't remember exactly what it was. Jack and the Beanstalk or something like that, maybe. So Shane was reading the poem or something. That was one of the more memorable moments, I think, leading up to that. But we see the highlights of it, and you can tell we kind of have Shane starting off here with a man on a mission gimmick, gets adequate ratings, so probably not exactly. We want a little bit better than that. But nonetheless, we'll take that. And so how is Big Show going to respond? Because the Big Show is going to have a match coming up next, and this gets to 63, and it is going to be the Big Show just destroying our friend K-Kwik. Of course, the one and only R-Truth, Ron Killings. 62 for this one. Actually, it was better than I thought for a 3-minute match, but they have great chemistry. So there you go. One of those chemistry notes that we'll take is the Big Show defeating K-Kwik in 323. We did do kind of storytelling. That's an aim that we have to have as one of the notes, so we did do that here. Big Show gets the choke slam on K-Kwik for the victory. So that's kind of, again, just kind of playing up what's going on with Show here. But so Big Show, afterwards, we go to commercial, we come back, Big Show's walking back, in the backstage area. 80 for the segment, and it is Big Show walking into Vince McMahon's office. He's been told that he needs to go into Vince's office, and that's where he walks in. Vince shakes his hand, and then Vince just completely hauls off on the Big Show in terms of verbal onslaught here, as Vince just starts yelling at Big Show about the opportunity that he had to crush Shane McMahon, to crush his offspring. Vince says, one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made in my life. You had a chance to get rid of him, and you couldn't do it, Big Show. And so you've just got, Big Show just towering over Vince here. But Vince just continues to yell at him about how he couldn't get the job done. And then, Vince just kind of slaps Big Show on the chest here. And you can tell it's that look right there that we see from the Big Show. He's giving Vince the eye here, and Vince just says, what are you going to do about it? And then, as Big Show gets ready to walk off, Vince just says, don't you forget, you owe me one. So Vince tells him that he owes him one. What does that mean? We don't know. But Vince not happy with the Big Show for not being able to destroy Shane McMahon. So there you go. 80 for this segment here. Better than I thought, to be honest with you. So good stuff here with Vince and Show. All right, this match, not so much. We get a 44 for the segment here, as it is the Hardy Boys defeating the Right to Censor, which is the Good Father and Bull Buchanan. And so Jeff head and shoulders above everyone else. The Good Father off his game here. Look, these guys don't have a lot going for them, but this match was not great, but that's okay. It did cool the crowd a little bit. Understandable. We can look at the dirt sheet here. I'm guessing you got some physical condition notes. Yeah, look at this. Just pretty much across the board in terms of this. And also, we didn't have a storyline attached to this. That's something that you guys know, in the first episode, usually there are some things like this that I just know I'm going to miss, that we have to go back and start doing more regularly, be more consistent about adding storylines to matches and those kind of things. But that comes with time. We'll get it done. And the commentary experience. I did want to note, too, I did plug in Jim Ross and Paul Heyman as the commentary team for both Raw and SmackDown, because I knew already from playing kind of a trial run with different saves, Michael Cole and Taz just do not have the chemistry. I mean, they don't have the chemistry. They don't have the experience. So I knew we were going to get knocked for that, even worse. But the fact is, these two have better ratings, so I'm just going to kind of keep using them for now. But we will try to figure out how we're going to plug in Michael Cole and Taz for SmackDown. But for now, we're going to use Jim, and we're going to use JR and Paul Heyman for the time being. Didn't help here, though. 44 for this one. The Hardy Boys get the win. Not a lot other than that. But we do see backstage, as it is Eddie Guerrero, who is watching what's going on here with the Hardy Boys. He's watching them celebrate, and you can tell, Eddie's you can tell who the aim is here, Matt Hardy. And we can kind of see Eddie watching the Hardys celebrate. Michael Cole kind of walks up to Eddie and asks him, what are you thinking right now? And Eddie doesn't have anything to say. He just sort of smirks and walks off. So 64 here for this one. We do have Eddie getting penalized due to the personal issues. So he does have let's see, where is it at? The personal issues attribute. So we're going to get knocked for having Eddie with that right now anytime he's on the screen. So that's certainly something that's we're going to have to work around, because we certainly want Eddie to be part of things, but I know that we are going to get a penalty for that by having him, with that attribute right now. So just something to consider moving forward. But anyways, we know Eddie has his eye on the Hardy Boys, and maybe specifically Matt Hardy, which, oh, by the way, Matt defeated Eddie and Christian in a triple threat match for the European Championship at Backlash. So we'll see if Eddie has his sights set on that here moving forward. All right, then we get to the Hardcore Championship match. Rhyno getting the win over Steve Blackman as Rhyno gets the win with the spear. His first defense of the Hardcore title. I think it was Rhyno beating Raven at Backlash 2001. So decent match here. I mean, we'll take this. 61. The wrestling was not great. The crowd was not great, but we get a 61 out of the segment. Rhyno, pretty good stuff here. 68. I always thought Rhyno was underrated. Rhyno, gets a win here for the Hardcore Championship. I don't know if we're going to go with the 24/7 rule. I don't even remember if it was still in play at this point, but it had to be, right? I don't remember. But Rhyno gets the win, retains the Hardcore Championship, and that's kind of that for now. But Rhyno will have some bigger things in his future. I can feel pretty confident in saying that. All right, we got the coach backstage with Edge and Christian, and this gets a 63 for the segment. We did kind of start a storyline here, career rivals, of course, between these four. And so we have a situation here where it's Edge and Christian telling the coach that, yes, we saw what the Hardys, did earlier, beating the right to censor. But, Edge kind of says, we just want to be proactive in telling the Hardys they need to stay out of our business. And coach is like, well, how have they gotten into your business? Did they do something tonight? Did they do something at Backlash? No. We just want them to stay out of our business. And so Edge and Christian just kind of making it clear here that they want nothing to do with the Hardys. The Hardys need to stay out of their business. They've got a big match coming up next, and, that's that. So Edge and Christian kind of playing up your heels here, saying that they don't want the Hardys around them, and that's kind of the story here for now. So 63 here for this one. As we said, they are going to have a match, and it is Edge and Christian getting the win over Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly, the Hollies here. And I know we got a submission for Hardcore. We're not making Hardcore Holly tap out. He's not tapping out. But we do have a note here that we have some miscommunication between Hardcore and Crash. So these two have a little miscommunication. Crash, unfortunately, causes Hardcore Holly to be the person who takes the pin here. Edge, incredible in the ring, 76 for this one. Crash, kind of the weakest link here at 46, but nonetheless, I mean, this is kind of what we expected. We get the penalty, or not the penalty, the bonuses for the teaming for Edge and Christian. But again, you can kind of see we're playing a couple things out here. Edge and Christian may have some other things going on. A little miscommunication between the Hollies. We'll see what that leads to. 57 for the segment. And then we go backstage, 88 here for this segment, so good stuff, as it is The Undertaker making his way to the ring for the main event. Of course, he's going to take on Kurt Angle. And who's waiting for him as he gets close to the entrance? Well, it's none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, and Vince McMahon. And they are all smiles here as they know that Taker is by himself. There's no Kane, and you kind of have Vince being protected here by Austin and Triple H. And it's kind of when, Vince is telling Taker, what are you going to do? He says, you're about to go out and wrestle an Olympic gold medalist. You don't have your brother with you, and you're looking at the most dominant force, the most dominant duo in the history of sports entertainment, Triple H and Steve Austin, and kind of Vince just mocking The Undertaker here. He's lost the tag team championships. We don't know where his brother's at, and Taker's got to go out here and wrestle Kurt Angle coming up. So Taker just sort of stares at all three of them, gives a nice little glare, and you can see Austin ready to just go after him, but Vince is sort of holding him back, and Taker just stares at all three of them, and that is when The Undertaker tells this trio and tells Vince specifically that Judgment Day is coming for all of them. And that's all The Undertaker says. He just says that phrase, Judgment Day is coming for all of them. So, The Undertaker, a bit of an ominous statement here that he's making on his way to the ring for the main event. 88 here for the segment. And in a 79, I thought this would do a little bit better. Thought this would hit 80 plus. Of course, we got 80 plus here, but segment rating, we only get a 79. It is The Undertaker defeating Kurt Angle in 7:43, so Angle gets a little overzealous here, trying to prove himself, and it is Taker capitalizing with the last ride to get the win. Angle, 89 on the in-ring performance. Just amazing form as we see here. So Taker gets the win, and of course, that's not it, because The Undertaker has just left Angle down and out, and here comes who else but the two-man power trip, Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H. They make their way out, and they are on the attack here as Angle is down, and it is Austin and Triple H going after The Undertaker. And well, what happens then? And this is where I will get better at doing the parts of the segments, because I know I could have added this part in and then added this part in. You probably guessed it. Here comes Kane, as Kane comes to make the save. 85 for this one. So, we get sort of the little pyro going off. Kane comes out to make the save. And so Austin and Triple H are out there, and now, they've tried to go after Taker. Kane makes the save, and so we kind of have the standoff once again, as it is Kane helping his brother, The Undertaker. Triple H and Austin are retreating here, and that is kind of, how things finish up there near the ring. Angle's still laid out, kind of as the party that's on the outside here. And so Kane makes his return. Taker hadn't seen him since Backlash, but he's back here to save his brother, and we'll see what that means moving forward. But we're not done here, because this gets an 85 for the segment. We do then see backstage. It is Vince McMahon, and he is standing with his daughter, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. And Vince is watching this play out, and Vince is frustrated. He's seeing Kane's return. Stephanie's got this, this evil sort of look on her face, and we have them two kind of watching, the video of what's going on here. But then Vince receives a phone call, and it is something where Vince answers the phone, and he realizes the voice that's on the other end of this phone call. And Vince just says, "I knew you'd call." Vince says, "I can't tell you how long I've waited for this conversation, and I can't tell you how long I've waited for you and I to stand in the ring together next week on Raw." So Vince invites whoever this is to Raw next week, and that is how we go off the air. Vince closes the phone. Stephanie gives him a look, and Vince starts to have his, frustrations of seeing what just happened to Triple H and Austin. All of a sudden, we see sort of that evil smirk from Vince McMahon here, as he has invited someone to Raw is War next week, and we will find out who that is. 78 to go off the air here. We probably, again, I knew this wouldn't do as well as the previous segments, so we probably could have, made this before, but we needed to have this as the final thing for dramatic effect. So that's how we go off the air. This show gets a 75. You guys know how this works by now. The first couple of shows we always do are not going to be well rated because there are some things that I'm going to forget. There are also some things where the storylines, we do not have enough of those right now in terms of meeting that hot rating. But my guess is once we get out of Raw, that will start to happen. May take until next week's SmackDown, but not really worried about it. We did increase popularity in 7 regions. We lost popularity in 15 regions. We'll be fine. We're, again, kind of competing against ourselves here. But some good stuff to finish up the show. Good main event. Thought it could have been better. Had that good match earlier, Jericho and X-Pac. And we kind of get our storylines in motion as we are on the road to Judgment Day. We'll see how things kind of play out into that. And yes, the invasion, it will be coming. So there you go. All right, let's see what we get to before we wrap up. All right, you can see from the show here, of course, we have some new screens in TW9. We did make a profit. We gained $217,977 coming out of this show. So not a bad thing there. We sold some tickets here. Made some money on some ticket sales. So we're doing just fine financially. Popularity recap. Again, we kind of see what happens here coming out of this in terms of losing some popularity. You're not losing a lot, but I say this, like, you can probably watch every single series I think we've ever done, and we always lose popularity on the first show or two. It just happens, but I'm not concerned about it. We will pull it right back up once we actually get the storyline heat picked up a little bit with some of these, and it'll be just fine. So, yeah, so we kind of, take a little bit of a hit there, but that's all right. All right, so that was SmackDown. Pretty good show. We did not strike gold. We didn't do any of that. We did do Sunday Night Heat, too. I forgot to mention that earlier if you want to see here. I mean, the first show we booked that before SmackDown, but you can kind of see we did invite in some locals, so you get kind of the notes that these guys want to sign on for like a, an appearance or whatever because you're in their area. So we had Shane Helms and Bobby Eaton was there. So we had Matt Hardy defeat Bobby Eaton to retain the European title. There's something about Bobby Eaton going for the European Championship. I appreciate it on that. So, again, not really anything of note here coming out of it. I just honestly booked this about as quick as I could just to kind of have the B show and everything there. But, yeah, not a lot to add on this. So, see if there's anything else coming out of it. Kevin Sullivan retiring. So, 51 years old, Kevin Sullivan has decided to retire. So that's notable there. Tony Atlas also retiring at 47. Lance Storm changing his style, so he's going from a technician to a regular wrestler. So Lance Storm trying to appeal to the masses here, perhaps. But I know we got some mail here. I clicked on this before. So yeah, Lance Storm, he's on the short list. So he's going to change his style. We do have new goals. We are probably going to turn these off because, again, I don't want to necessarily have to stick to the goals from Vince McMahon. So it's just something I probably don't want to have to do. So we'll see about that, though. Kurt Angle has an opinion. Steve Blackman doesn't connect with the fans. He's a waste of time. Kurt Angle is he's on one, right? He was pissed off on this week's SmackDown. Now he's angry about Steve Blackman. So, yeah, Kurt Angle's he's not a very happy man right now coming out of Backlash. So there you go, guys. That was SmackDown. We're kind of just, kind of adding the backstory we need to kind of really get things to take off here soon. So that'll just kind of be the way that it is on some of these shows early on. But again, the payoff will be worth it. That's all I'll say. But I appreciate you watching as always. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. Like I said, if you want to check out the other series we've done here on the channel, if you're just jumping onto the channel for the first time, we got a lot of old series from TW 2020 that are still, I think, a lot of fun to go back through and watch. WWF 2021, that was, our flagship one, 100-plus episodes on that. We did have a WWF 1992 save going, too, if you want an old school one there. TCW save and the C-Verse also. So a lot of fun stuff if you want to check out here on the channel. But appreciate you guys watching as always, and let me know your thoughts on SmackDown. And again, on the next episode of our WWF Invasion 2001 save, it will be Raw is War for May Week 2.